was talking about that.
Yeah.
So how we got to this conversation, bro? We were talking about being the worst place in the cities of Los Angeles. Sean talked about him and his dad got lost after a Dodger game and he had to get escorted out of a police station or police car, And this is how we got into that conversation.
Oh.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, parts of LA, man. Jeremy, you probably have the most history in LA. You see some of those streets.
4 lefts can fuck your life up. I even remember getting lost in a Skid Row. That was the scariest fucking place.
I just want you guys to know before we go in, the script should be good, please. But my drink selection sucked.
What's the drink?
You even caught the last one, Brandon. I was looking for mistakes here. So
the ghost,
interesting.
The ghost that I didn't. Yeah,
the ghost. I was wondering if we were drinking the blue milk of Tatooine for the 8th time. All right, welcome to another episode of season 5 of 3.5 Jumpin'. Gosh, season 5. We're the podcast where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, while one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, on my ride along are my co-hosts, Jeremiah.
Watch your 6, yo. Watch it.
Eddie.
Don't fuck with the police.
And Brandon.
We are the police. I could keep going. I wrote a bunch of different quotes down, so let's go for it. A lot of it was just fuck, you fucking fuck. That's really kind of what I got from most of the movie.
There was over 336 fucks in this movie, by the way. Yeah. I don't know why I know that.
With the podcast striving to be cleaner, that's a very interesting
Not the best
there,
movie
Jeremiah.
in a lot of ways.
If you're just looking at that, I mean, look beyond that, Brandon. But with season 5, we've been changing things up a bit. We're still picking movies that we think will be fun to talk about. But for this season, we're playing a loose version of 6 Degrees, where each host chooses their film based off the previous one, as long as the movie shares an actor, actress, composer, director, or writer.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through the film that we just watched? Now, at the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 being the perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 being the sort of the film that makes you feel like you just had your eyeball split in 2 by a knife. That is the most haunting scene, by the way.
Was not expecting that.
Hopper, man. Hopper.
Jesus. Where's 11 when you need her?
But this is why Hopper went to a different jurisdiction. I mean,
exactly. He got his eye back. He became the chief of Hawkins. You see, he's totally fine, dude.
He was so mad that they cut off his vest. They cut off my vest. They cut off my damn vest.
I had to Google that to figure it out.
Last week, Brandon confused us with Donnie Darko. And since Ed had the next pick, please, Ed, take us through what we've got patrolling the streets.
Yes.
Tonight.
Well, definitely after that train wreck last week, I thought we should probably pick it up and save this season. So I chose End of Watch because, well, that's from Jake Gyllenhaal. I chose the movie because, personally, this came out in 2012, and I thought we should show some love to our boys in blue. And you know what? They have a tough life out there, the police force and anyone in law enforcement, those first responders. It's no joke. And I thought this movie it's a matter of time for us to do this movie. And I've always thought this movie should be something on the list we should do for this podcast.
There you go.
Well, it's a hard knock life. Yeah. Anyway, 2012's End of Watch follows LAPD officers and partners Taylor and Zavala, played by Gyllenhaal and Michael Peña, respectively, as they take down South Central's most dangerous felons. But along their journey of cleaning up the streets, they become targets of one of the most dangerous gangs in the area. Directed by David Ayer and starring Gyllenhaal, Peña, Anna Kendrick, America Ferrera, and our boy David Harbour, End of Watch has earned an IMDb rating of 7.6 out of 10 and has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 85% with the critics and an audience score of 86%.
As with every movie that we review, we try to pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. Ed, please take us through the cocktail that we will be enjoying tonight, but not drinking and driving because, that would be wrong.
No, you definitely can call.
Don't
Uber
be hanging
or,
a CD
Lyft.
from your don't be hanging a CD from your rear view mirror either. Jesus.
Yeah,
You can stop for that.
Yeah. I can only imagine the kids watching them. What the fuck is a CD?
Man, dude.
right?
Sorry,
You're
go
lucky
ahead.
one of the CDs still work.
Seriously.
It doesn't skip.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, guys, we're keeping it simple. So grab your favorite tequila and pour yourself a triple and down it. but remember to pour a drink out for your fallen brothers and homies. I don't put homies. Brandon added homies, so I'm going to say fallen
Eddie,
brothers and heroes.
It literally rolled off your tongue so naturally, Ed. That's all I'm saying.
You can't just have one. I would definitely say have a couple shots.
Dude, I'm not a tequila fan. Tequila is pretty hardcore,
with
dude.
a couple of your friends you call brothers. That's the best way to do it.
What kind of tequila you guys drinking, guys?
Hornitos.
Oh, okay. I am a Patron guy, 1,000%.
Of course,
Patrons. Yes. I represent 2007.
I'm stuff honest. I can't pronounce it. It's my father-in-law. He always buys like the most expensive Patron, and I just drink it like it's nothing, and I can't taste the difference, but it's really good.
Yeah, I'm drinking this shit that's made from the sink, dude.
I do love me a Jose Cuervo Gold Margarita premix. I will say that is a delightfully
it's all
wonderful.
about the Costco. It's all rolling with the Costco.
That's what I'm saying. Costco's changed.
Sean would finish that within a little bit before practice, and he would finish the rest of it after practice. The whole.
He'd be drinking some during practice.
I wish I knew baseball Sean. I only know softball Sean. You know?
Softball Sean is worse than baseball Sean. I drank vastly more in softball than I ever did in baseball, but I do drink in softball quite a bit.
Hey, do you like the way this starts? The opening with I was wondering, do you like the way it starts out? Jake Gyllenhaal with, "Hey, I'm the police. We are the police." The whole entrance, Sean, and now it goes through the
So I reserved my judgment for this movie. I knew that I was going to have a really hard time watching the movie because of the way it's filmed, and I was not wrong. But I liked the concept of him shooting some sort of a documentary. I wish that it had been a third-party documentary, and they had involved the cameraman as a character a little bit, but I'll get into that a little bit later, because there was some inconsistencies in who was holding the camera.
Oh God!
But but for that, I'm Eddie. I'm gonna be. I promise you, I'm gonna be positive.
It's not gonna be Donnie Darko.
Believe it or not, I enjoyed 74% of this movie. So I knew
going into this movie that you were gonna be. That was what the struggle of this was. Just from Cloverfield. You don't like movies you feel like you're bouncing around a little bit.
I don't like movies that are unwatchable, but okay. So go ahead, Jeremiah.
I think we know each other so well. Like we all thought about Sean right here. It was Sean, this guy's can't handle it. I mean, Eddie, I think what really is cool about this movie is Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Peña. I think they committed to the work. I think you could tell that they went to like this rigorous like training regimen, of like just being a police officer. And I read something that they trained for 5 months, 12-hour rides, with the LAPD officers.
The lingo is to understand. I
think it showcases really hardcore of like what you see on the screen, But at this time, Brandon, wasn't like, like the found footage, like was that like the hype at this time? Where it was always like, footages and things like that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, 1999 was really the beginning, the surge of the found footage, because you got Blair Witch Project coming out. And then really throughout the 2000s, and I would definitely say spiking, right? Yeah. About the 2010s. And I think one of the reasons for that was that was when people started saying, hey, we can do high level filming on something like a phone, right? On an iPhone. And so, yeah, definitely you got this. You have kind of the surge of the body cams with the cops. So yeah, I think it really was cool. And that's going to be, I know Sean, you said, let's talk about it later. I want to jump into this real quick because this is one of three with this movie is that, unlike Sean, and by the way, I do want to share two texts that I got the other day when I knew that Sean was watching this movie out of the fucking blue. I get just no, like, hey, how you doing? Just 4 minutes in and I'm sick. And then followed up with Cloverfield with cops. Like that's what I got. So I knew that Sean was loving it at the second. But here's my problem.
I believe the third one I sent was it's like my grandma was given an iPhone and said, "Here, shoot this movie."
I was leaving that one out. But listen, here's my problem is that unlike Sean, I embrace found footage. I think that it's such a great way to bring us as the viewer in, whether we want to call it that cinema verite, where we're literally following people on their day-to-day, everyday lives. I love that. So in fact, I was loving the fact that we were getting that with something like this, the cop situation. What bothers me is that conceit lasts for about 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden we throw it in a little bit. And here's the problem, right? A movie like, say, Friday Night Lights, which has the same thing. Peter Berg does the exact same thing with the not found footage, but the documentary style, is that it never once says, hey, I'm going to be a character with a camera. It's always like, hey, this is an external filmmaker who is just watching in, right? And it works. They never once address it. It just is that's the way it is. And hey, let's go for it. This one, it's like, I'm taking this film class and I'm going to record shit with it. And this is going to be how the movie's going to be set up. And I'm sitting there going, absolutely awesome. And then all of a sudden we get, hey, we're going to be outside, third person POV watching the car drive. And now we're up from, a drone shot. It's the consistency of it that really, really frustrated me. And I wish that they had just
the narrative
different.
Consistency.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was not just that, but it was also the inadmissibility. Cops would never have been able to film what they did on a daily basis for any reason whatsoever, other than if it was approved by the department. So there's no way this film.
Well, he said that.
That's why
he did say that.
Well, I know, but I wish that they had. And this is not a criticism of the movie at all, just of a portion of the POV, which is just take 30 seconds and set up a plausible POV story and call it a day, like a crew POVing.
Yeah, an episode of Cops, right?
An episode of Cops,
as stupid as sounds,
whatever it is,
I do get what you're saying, because this is one of those movies you look at it, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have a handheld camera, and it's like, oh, I got approval from the chief of police for me to do this, and then I instantly thought, like, that's never ever approval, like that's a no, because one of the officers, another officer, the lady was like, hey, they'll take that right away and use it against you, and your whole career is done.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but then there's actually 4 different ways that they're filming this, right? So it's the handheld of the Jake Gyllenhaal, it's the chest camera, it's
the body cam,
it's the police car footage, right? That they're in the police car and you see the time, and it's like you're on the show of Cops, and then it's also the regular camera on the outside. Say, let's randomly just throw that in here and just pretend like
they threw in some long shots just to break it up.
There's a gunfight, and then randomly, I thought too, at the same time, the Mexicans are filming the same thing. Are they randomly just filming themselves just too?
Yeah.
What about other scenes, like how Jake? How about like all the police scenes? Like all the people doing their scenes of like the police officers finding the kids taped up in the room.
Dude,
much better.
See, I like the scenes very much when it's like the point of view of the body cam. So you have both characters, right? You have Michael and Jake. And when I wish they would have done more of this type of scene where you get both of their kind of reaction in a way, you get their point of view, what they're looking for. And I think it's so raw and it's so real to it, dude. I think this movie does a lot of good stuff to it where it really puts you in the center of like just chaos. I kind of wish that David, the director, would have kind of like figure out how he's going to direct certain scenes. Like, are you going to do the body cam, or are you going to do a one shot, or something like that?
Just narrative consistency. Consistency.
It wasn't. It wasn't bad though. Yeah, it wasn't like
it didn't. It didn't do enough to destroy the film.
It wasn't bad. No. I just think there's a lot of things that I was thinking about. Like it could have synced more better. I guess you know what I'm saying. But I love the body cams. I thought those scenes were fucking hardcore, bro.
Yeah. I think just real quick to jump on what Jeremiah said is the reaction shot. And I think that there's no better scene and there's no harder scene to watch than when they find the dismembered pieces of people, right? And then you've got Michael Peña and how he is losing it and how he's gagging and vomiting, and I mean that to me was such
shaving the kids in the with the fire scene.
Not the fire. No, sorry. Was it who was it that was gagging? Was it was Gyllenhaal?
Taylor was gagging.
Right. So we get him right, and which I love because what that does is it's so subtle, but it's so brilliant the way that Ayers does it. is that he's giving us this hardcore badass, right? Who all of a sudden just completely can't handle it. And I love how he's yelling at himself pull it together, and he can't do it. Like, so Jer, that's that reaction.
Yeah.
You also had two different police officers with different qualities and different strengths.
Yep.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting, and how they complemented each other at some points, or didn't quite they didn't quite compliment each other in some spots. And like when Michael Peña at the beginning of the movie fights, I'm like, why would you ever let your partner do that? And why is this in the movie? Because you're kind of putting a bad spin on this. But what this movie did for me is to reaffirm my view that we should not have any type of body cam on these guys at all, because what you see is very little of what actually happens and what actually goes on. Like, it doesn't tell the whole truth of the situation or the scenario, because it's moving so quickly and so rapidly that it doesn't tell the truth. Yeah. And it actually makes it look worse than it is in real life. And it just like,
that's what you're saying.
I'm saying, why would you put the most difficult job dealing with the most difficult people under this type of scrutiny, and then use that against them any step of the way? It's like,
but they have to have that now. I mean, it's
no way
now like
I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it.
It's their point of view now. It's like, it's like they're recording. So when someone says something like, oh, this is what you did, like, no, we have it on film now. It's like
they have to.
You have to have it now.
Yeah, legally, they use it against them so quickly. But overall, it's a split second, right? Because I mean, I think we all have probably a few friends that are in the law enforcement, and from what I've heard, it's seriously like life or death for this officer. And then some of these have to review the tape saying, well, was it really life or death? It's like, they were shooting at me. What do you want me to do? Like, it only shows one part. It doesn't show you different angles of what you were looking at and hearing, the peripherals.
But one of the scenes that I thought was beautiful and brilliant was, I believe Jake Gyllenhaal gets out of the car, goes to the passenger side of the guy who they end up finding the AK-47 that's blinged out, Liberace's AK-47, and the money and stuff.
AK-47.
But he gives the signal to Peña to approach the driver's side, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy has a gun and is shooting at Michael Peña. I'm like, however that was shot was beautiful and brilliant, but it's like, that's how quickly things can change in a moment. And I'm wondering, that made me wonder, like, man, if you hadn't heard the gunshot, would anyone have believed the officer that happened? Like, you know what I mean? So maybe the cameras are good things, but I'm like, still the scrutiny, I can't get over, like, the pressure of that, like, would be so intense. Like,
but no, it comes down to context, right? Because if you look at that, and I thought listen, when Peña just throws down on that guy in his apartment, right? Or the house or whatever. I'm thinking this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, this would never happen. This is literally I was thinking
recorded. The same thing, dude.
But what I loved about it, and Sean, you had said context, and this is it, right? Is that in doing that, they created an ally, because they didn't turn him in, right? They didn't bust him. They didn't give him his third strike and he's out. And that's the context that we don't understand. And that's the context that I don't know if this is the reason why he did it, like, actually, or he just wanted the guy, just go box somebody. But when we see the bigger picture, we step back and we say, okay, they've got an ally in there. And the way that he is respecting the cops for beating him in a fist fight, and he's talking to his buddies about it. Like, to me, it was a really interesting dynamic. I love it because it's showing something. Yeah, it's showing a side of that life that we don't see, right? We always see cop movies and we see the cops.
You saw a development of the police officer of a whole day, right? Like, you see how, like, back to backs, they were on a wild goose chase a couple of different times, and it was almost like they were not even trying to do anything. But overall, it shows you it develops into officers' days, like, and they have paperwork all throughout these little mini times. And it just shows, I thought it was a cool way of showing Officer's Day, and it developed their character in a nice way of each of their characters. It for me, it showed a little bit of character development. It was cool to see for how they filmed the movie in the cop car of a shop, and they were just like, okay, it's still somehow they got it done.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Eddie. Like, it literally gave me, like, a really good understanding of, like, what men and women and people and the police officers go through on a daily basis. I mean, like, the sacrifices that they have to go to, how you have to be mentally strong and shit like that. I was having, I'm trying to understand like what does end of watch mean, and
Did you look it up?
I had to look it up what it meant. It either means two things. Well, like one, your police, your end of your shift, or one, an officer's death, killed in the line of duty.
The end of watch for the police officer is that there's their last shift that they died on, or
that's crazy,
illness,
dude.
Possibly illness too. If they die of illness,
Yeah.
but it's
and they do it for the dogs too. And I'm not disparaging. Obviously, I'm not making
canines are big.
They're
dude.
just as important as it's yeah. Because I thought that was super interesting.
If they die in the line of duty, they do an end of watch ceremony for them, and they call it out just as equal with the dogs as the people.
What is your favorite scene in this movie, dude? What is one scene in this movie that you're like, I'm gonna keep that fucking scene, or that scene's gonna haunt me forever? To you guys,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to go with the same one. I mean,
Brandon.
obviously, I don't remember it as much because I was thinking it was Peña, but no, with Gyllenhaal gagging and trying to keep it together and just losing it and realizing that, like, there's some things that no matter how prepared you think you are, you're just not prepared enough. So when he finds the dismembered bodies and that sheet, I still don't understand where the person went when the steam on the kettle was going, and like that was kind of a. Ooh, they're introducing that, and then all of a sudden they're just like, let's call it in. But no, that scene, that house, that was just one that I thought was tough. But the other one that I think was just as tough was when they found the kids in the closet, and you're just like, fuck. People are actually horrible. Doing that shit. Like that one hurt on a more, I guess, realistic level, because I think that happens a hell of a lot more than finding a body dismembered household.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I'm going to go with the same scene, but for a different reason. I think that this movie did a wonderful job of describing the parameters of a beat cop. And I don't say that derogatorily. They are not detectives. They are not special forces, special unit. And if they would have followed the parameters of their edict, they would not have been in the position that they were in. But instead, they pushed the parameters of their edict, and they went and investigated a house that they weren't supposed to investigate. And then all of a sudden, the shitstorm happened. And that's one of the big problems I have with this movie is that I like, and this is just a personal preference, I guess, I like when somebody dies for something. They die uncovering something. They die to save someone, and I felt like the deaths at this were kind of their own doing, and because of their recklessness as police officers. Mm-hmm. Also because the gang was horrible. But I'm not going to say, it's not going to blame them completely. But at the same time, if they would have heeded the words of the special forces unit that went in with the kids and said, hey, back off this. Don't go investigate. You're not detectives. You're not prepared to be in that position.
Even the guy that Michael was fighting in the beginning of the movie, he pretty much said like, yo, dude, I mean, there is a target on you guys. He forewarned them, dude.
Because there's lanes of jurisdiction.
Yes.
And that's not, they jumped out of their lane into a different lane, and was the folly. And it was disappointing.
Jeremy, what's your favorite scene?
My favorite part was the Sarge in the wedding when he's talking to those Marines.
About his partner.
Pretty much foreshadowing what's going to happen to one of the characters, that his partner took that bullet for him.
You can tell it's weighing him down, too. It's like it's been on his
weighing him down his whole life. And Frank Grillo is a great actor, man.
Yeah, well, where did he come from? Because I'm sorry. I've never seen him in a real role. Like, his Crossbones, he was not exactly.
He's been in a lot of movies. He was in The Gray. He was really fucking good in The Gray. He was also in
this movie.
Yeah, he was great in that. He was great. He's great in The Warrior. Well, if you get a chance to watch Warrior, he's fantastic. He's the coach.
Yes.
But dude, that scene right there was like, that scene broke my heart, and that was probably one of the best scenes of the movie.
So I would say my favorite scene is probably of No Words, and it's the song of the very end with the last. I want to say it's the same song from the movie We Were Soldiers. It's the very end where it's the funeral, pretty much, where all the officers are pretty much getting ready for the funeral, and the how intense it is. You start seeing the police officer cars line up in a row, and how they get ready, and it's the song of How We Were Done. And that's just a very heavy scene. And I always thought that was something about the way they honor police officers is just, it hits me every time. And this movie, I thought it did it really well with the emotion behind it. And it was probably my favorite scene. That it haunts me in the weird way of like I can't turn away, and the tears come out. So
Yeah.
I mean, when he gets up and just says, he was my brother,
that's all
like
he could
that.
say. Yeah.
I mean, that's all that he needed to say. Like that was that was probably some of the best I've ever seen Jake Gyllenhaal act, and I am not a Jake Gyllenhaal fan, so it was. I think that was probably his best little 7 seconds on screen. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I want to just throw this out there, not to be negative, but Sean, you say you're not a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
No, I really do enjoy Jake Gyllenhaal. But you know who I don't like, and I talked about this before when we did freaking Pitch Perfect, and Anna Kendrick pulled me out of this movie so much, and I don't know why they cast her in this movie, and I really mean this, because you've got these two guys who
it was 2012, yo.
Hire Anna Kendrick. I mean, she was just playing Anna Kendrick in this movie, dude.
It's true. No, I understand, but listen, everything
playing
from
herself.
America
That's
Ferrera,
all she played was herself.
That's what she did. And she's on screen, and I'm pulled out of the movie. I'm pulled out of the realism that Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Peña and America Ferrera and all these amazing, brilliant actors and actresses do, is they bring you in, and they're like, I could be like, yeah, that's a fucking cop. That's not Jake Gyllenhaal. And then you got Anna Kendrick right there, and she's just being her fucking self. And I hated that casting choice so much. And I get it. It was 2012, and she was at the height of it. And right, you got all these things coming out. But God, Anna Kendrick just literally... That's going to be a whole two drinks down because of that, Ed, because I cannot stand
Peña, with Peña joking about to Taylor, Gyllenhaal was like, they were bickering the whole time inside the cop car, the shop. Mm-hmm. And, Gyllenhaal is like, oh, tinks de this, tinks de that. And, there's always a party here and there. And then Peña was just like, oh, like, what type of coffee did you have? Like, this is...
I like my new mocha.
Yeah, like I imagine like he nailed it perfectly for Anna Kendrick. Like,
I think Michael Peña is a vastly underused actor in Hollywood. Absolutely. I don't know why he doesn't get more roles. There was a big push during the Marvel when Marvel was good and heading toward its peak.
With Ant-Man?
For him to just do a show where he described the plots of the movies.
My God. And like just, I would be so about that.
Oh, absolutely. Because he has this timing, and he showed it in this movie particularly, without being over the top funny. He had like those quick one-liners where I felt like Jake Gyllenhaal, not just because I don't like him, but because he forces his lines a lot, and it's like he's reading the script and Michael Peña is reacting to the script, and I feel like Michael Peña is just a more natural delivery.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Peña's great in this movie, dude. Yeah. And he's just, but you're right. He's an underrated actor, man. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. There's a new movie that's on Amazon where he's playing like a true story that, he went to
a baseball player,
an
astronaut.
Like that? No, not an astronaut.
Oh, okay.
And it looks fucking amazing, dude. I'm like, fucking Peña, do it.
So I don't know if you guys caught this, but the way I look at it is, Peña was he said he jumped into the law enforcement from the time he got married with his wife to they have a good pension, and he can be in there without a degree type of thing. Gyllenhaal went to the military, and that's why you see the Marines at his wedding, and you see those are his his fellow friends. So that's why I personally say Gyllenhaal was supposed to be. He looked like a jarhead with the shaved head, and he was still more hardcore. Yeah. That's why when they were in the gunfight, he was able to like say, "This is what we're going to do, Peña. We're going to." So that Peña didn't understand like what do you mean? It's like we're going to lay all our rounds and get the hell out of here. He knew it came back to like combat to like army times, military times.
I felt like that scene from the moment they entered and were taking fire through the end of their, when they both got shot in the alley. I felt like that, however long that was, should have been a third of the movie. And it should have been more. It was brilliant and beautiful, but it was too short. It was so good that I wanted more of that part, and I wanted less of this trash talking woman
Oh,
Mexican cartel person.
Okay,
like she drove me crazy. I'm like, first of all, like she just drove me crazy to start with. Like,
I think those are actually real people. Like,
yeah, but
actors,
she was in charge. I mean, come on.
So she's the driver.
Yeah, okay.
The guy in the one in charge was the
what's his name? Evil Ed?
Big Evil.
Or
Big Evil.
Big
Evil. Listen, I get. I'm going to go off.
She was annoying as
yes. So I said there were three things that bothered me. Right, the choice to go in and out of the POV camera. Right, that one pissed me off. Anna Kendrick is number 2, and number 3 is
she's always your number 2 though. You can't just keep using her.
Okay, fine. Okay, she can be my number 3, but I'm going to bring up this. So here's my number 2. I could not stand the dialogue, the fake forced dialogue. I get that they were real, street gang members that all of a sudden decided that they wanted to go into Hollywood or whatever. But the whole Big Evil character, his gang, his posse, the amount, like, listen. We all know that dialogue and language doesn't faze me at all. Say fuck as many times as you want, but there's some people that when they say fuck, it's just like, I don't believe that. I don't buy that one bit. Big Evil, you're gonna fucking do that, fuck. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is not anywhere near realistic at all. It's so forced,
and you don't have to buy into the stereotype.
Yeah, it's stereotype.
My least favorite scene in the movie, and that was the Anna Kendrick movie part where she takes the camera and she's gonna do her own
the confession
reality TV show, and I'm gonna go and snoop all your shit. I'm like, what a fucking no! I thought that was
the dumbest thing in the world.
The one thing that she did bad was she brought the gun and she's just like, what's
she's like looking at the freaking barrel.
No, she's just like, we won't touch this. I'm like, you pointed it at him and yourself in the same fucking scene.
Yeah, and Jake Gyllenhaal, you suck at gun maintenance because that should be in a safe, not on your.
Or like, at least by your underneath your pillow, bro. Like, you're a real police officer. And
down this list of names, you don't need that anymore. Yeah, no, it literally distracts. And I think Eddie, you said the same. This is kind of what I was thinking, but you said it distracts from the quality of the film.
Poorly written scenes.
Yes.
Poorly written scenes.
It's really frustrating.
Like 4 or 5 poorly written scenes that just dragged it down.
Yeah.
I read something about the original screenplay. Both Jake and Michael die in the end of the movie. And the director literally changed the last minute or something like that. He was like, nah, that's just too much for the audience to fucking handle.
They wanted to pull in with Frank. It pulled it in with Frank with like the idea of one of them survives and has to live on the burden of surviving. Exactly. Like the idea of that's a real issue in the police force. Most of these officers who you see being older and they're by themselves, either they don't want a partner, so it got too real, or they lost a partner. Right. And it's so fucking scary. The other aspect of this is the wife of the officer and how much pressure and stress it is as my husband coming home from their shift. Like that's a real deal. Like I know a few wives and they say this movie, they can't watch it, or if they have watched it and it hits too hard. It brings up too many really, really sad or think, you want to take your mind out of this. You don't ever want to think about this.
Well, yeah, dude, I think this movie really gives you like the honest portrayal of of friendship and sacrifice and the realities of police work.
You married into a police officer, and here
it's all there and shit, dude. I mean, it's something where I'm watching this movie and at the end of the movie, I came off just thinking to myself, I appreciate so much for fucking what they do. And the sacrifices and shit that I can sit here and talk to you right now, knowing that there's someone out there protecting me or something like that, or protecting people. I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, that is a hardcore fucking line of work, man. Yeah. If you find a cop nearby or something like that, buy them a drink and lunch, shit,
thank them, and
something, dude.
No, so I think it's interesting that you had said that about the original draft or the original shot script or whatever. The original cut was both of them dying, because to me, this ending was too much of a cop out. This to me was taking a realistic film and then saying, let's Hollywoodize the ending. I wish, and I'm not saying this because I want bad for these characters, but I wish that they had kept the realism of what he created, what Ayers created. And both of them should have died, right? Because that is what this movie is about. It's the sacrifices that these people make for the general public. And Sean, you're right. Like they kind of created their own fate with poking the bear too many different times, too many different ways. I thought that the way it was, and to have it be this kind of, number one, to have only one of them die when both of them were bleeding out pretty hardcore in the street. And then for it to be, in the end result, for it
only
to
one
be
was bleeding out in the street.
Who
Peña never
dies.
got hit. Peña never got hit. He died.
No, but
he was bleeding out till he died.
What I'm saying is they're both.
Yeah,
but they're both shot. They're both dying. I feel like we saw Gyllenhaal die in Peña's hands and arms, and then all of a sudden he's there. And I get that we get that beautiful last scene of him breaking down. We get Gyllenhaal's one of his best performances ever. But to me, it was too much of a cop out. It was like, I wish we had just gone full throttle into the real territory. I don't want to be pessimistic.
I see what you're saying, Brandon.
Did you think he was going to be dead? Because after seeing this movie a couple times,
were gone.
Yeah. So if you look at Peña, one of the last words he says after he's like having Taylor in his hand, he lays him down and he says, "What the hell?" Taylor's body actually goes into this state of, okay, he's going into not shock, but he's leveling out. He's going to survive.
Stasis.
He already knows that he's stasis. Yeah, he's like leveling out, and that's what. But I think he saw that, and then he saw people behind him, so he didn't want to make any big known of it. Like, hey, this guy's still alive. He made it. It was almost like he threw his body on his partner.
Yeah, that's what I got there. Like he sacrificed himself.
Because he saw his buddy. Hey, if there's any chance of survival, I'm going to lay my life. Because they thought he was dead already, because he wasn't. He was probably, to the naked eye, he's not breathing. He's dead. He's just laying there. But this guy, he realized he barely has a pulse, and I'm going to lay my life on the line for him. I thought it was kind of a heroic in a weird way, because there's Gyllenhaal asked,
there's no doubt that he was heroic.
Yeah, Gyllenhaal asked, do you feel like a hero earlier after they saved there's people, and Peña was the first person running into that building, right? And then Gyllenhaal was like, I don't think I would have ran in there if you didn't run in there. That was hardcore enough. And it was the way it ended. I thought it was supposed to be that way. I thought I liked it how it ended. I thought the other way it ended, it would have been too. Anna Kendrick, she's a newlywed, and I don't have the same feeling. I think the right person died in this movie to make it realistic.
I know they're heroes, and I know they're protecting the community. And to me, like, you walk away from them. I walk away from a movie. I want to feel something. I want to feel like there was stakes. I want to feel like there was some hope. And this just kind of doesn't give me any hope. It just. There's shitty areas with shitty people, and they're targeting police.
How's that not realistic? That's in the way.
I didn't say it wasn't realistic. I said I didn't like it. Okay. I don't like the realism. I'm going to the movies for entertainment. I'm not going to, be put in a bad mood and felt. Are dealing with the worst dregs humanity has to offer.
Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Is that what it is?
It does. It makes me feel, it makes me feel like that's news, not media. It makes me feel like it's not a movie. That's something that I watch movies to escape that. To escape the horrors of war.
I see what you're saying, Sean, but
this is for some people. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like military movies. It's like war movies. Like it leaves you an uncomfortable feeling. But I guess in a lot of ways, it just gives you an appreciation of like what people have done that are doing it right now, that have done it in the past.
And they're working the night.
Their lives, and everything.
Yeah, the only way to stop the wolves, the only way to stop the wolves is if you have your own wolves, right? Unless you taking all the sheep.
I guess I don't see the wolves in it's a completely different war zone, and that's what I guess frustrates me, is that they're fish out of water. Under who's putting them in this position? Like, shame on the structure, not the people. It's not the people. It's not the police officer's fault. It's the structure of how they're sent out into the field that bothers me.
In real life, or are you talking about
in real life? Yes. And in the movie, like, these people should not have been forced to go into an area, an active, essentially an active war zone with a cartel. They should be given all the information. Here's the areas to avoid. Here's where you don't go. Here's, what I'm saying?
That is the unrealistic part of this movie. Like, there is areas that's like, okay, guys, in zone A, B, and C, we can't just go open up houses here, because we're going to open up a hornet's nest. So you're not authorized this protocol. Stay away from that fucking house.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're in Palos Verdes, California, I'm not sure that you're You're worried about the same thing.
If you're in Redondo Beach, you're not really worrying about that at all. You're worried about something else. So I have a friend that's over there too, right? So it's just like two different lives, and one doesn't have to worry about the other one has to worry about extra vests in the car. It's just like it's just that's unfortunate.
And I think the LAPD, the NYPD, big city Chicago PD. I think these are different animals than Hawkins, Indiana.
Mayor Barry Lane, Amy Griffin, walking around.
Virgin Island, you mean? No, Virgin. What's that?
He's the town sheriff.
What's that?
What a good town sheriff he is.
Virgin River, sorry.
Virgin. I mean, I could be the officer of Virgin River. Oh, Mrs. Marbury fell in the street again. Let's get her up.
Oh, come on, Timmy. Let's go home. That brings us to the end of the review. Now it's time of the podcast where each of the hosts provides a score on the following scale. Z.
Yes.
Eddie.
Yes.
Find the scale, please.
All right, guys. So 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy this. 1, a feel-good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, an Uber lifting home. 4, rough morning walk to shame. 5, blackout shit-faced spring break drunk.
All right.
Load up your scores. Load up your scores.
Well, at least you're not like struggling hard on this one, like on previous other movies that you struggle where you're just like 5. Fuck it.
It's nice.
I enjoy
I'm
that.
torn between unwatchability and a pretty decent story.
It's nice to have a podcast where not one person is just like, this is a piece of shit. It's nice to have the conversation where we're kind of all, I think, on the same side-ish thing. I don't know. But all right, I'm ready. Oh no, we're not.
I don't know. We'll see what the score is.
Oh god,
I probably like the movie a lot more than you guys, so I'm okay with that.
I think that's pretty true.
Ready,
Okay.
set,
3, 2, 1.
Oh god. Oh yeah. Okay, I think this is actually pretty damn good. Okay. I'm gonna take first watch on this. You see what I did there? Okay, so this is a movie that I should like much more than I do. Okay, it is filmed in a style that I absolutely love. I bring on the found footage, bring on the handheld, bring on the shaky cam, bring on everything that Sean doesn't like. Also, going along with what Sean doesn't like is bring on a movie that makes me feel bad when I walk out of the theater. Like that's what I go to movies for, is to feel rather than to escape. And Sean and I have been talking about this one for years, and hopefully we can live long enough to continue talking about this for another 30 years.
Well, that's why there's multiple styles of movies. I mean,
absolutely. Right? Not everything needs a tripod is all I'm saying. But listen, this is a movie that I should like a whole lot more than I do. I like the actors with the exception of Anna Kendrick, but for me, this is a movie that felt too much like a concept and less enough like a movie, right? I get the idea of this is a day in the life or a week in the life of police officers. I get that. I appreciate that. But to me, it felt like there wasn't enough storyline to carry us through, right? You got these officers who are going through patrolling, doing their job. They kick the hornet's nest and the hornet bites back. Okay, that's good, but I need something to carry me along through more. Maybe that is to spend more time focusing on the family aspect, bring me into this so that I actually see and care more when they die. I don't know what it was, but to me, this was just lacking something in the storyline department. And additionally, I get, Eddie, what you're saying about the ending. I like your reading of it, that this is something he has to live with, that this is him maybe sensing that his partner was alive and he's going to sacrifice himself. I love that. But at the same time, if you have a movie that basically says unapologetically, this is real life, this is something that we're going to be just like dealing with, walking you guys through the shit, I feel like both of them needed to die. But this is a movie that I really appreciate. I don't think it's as good as it could have been, but I think it's a pretty good movie. For me, this is a 2.3. Again, not a great movie. It could have been so much better. I feel like this could have been in the ones for me easily if a couple adjustments had been made, not just for the end, because I do get the end, but some adjustments needed to be made.
So you had 2.3. You had 3 main areas, and they were just no, but 2.3. But you said you had 3 big areas that
Anna Kendrick cost 2 drinks, bro.
Jeez,
it
bro.
cost 2 drinks.
Anna Kendrick,
it should have been a 0.3 movie.
Now, if Anna Kendrick had played the Cups, would that have changed your score,
fuck.
Brandon?
Oh my god, a mashup! It's like a Glee mashup between this movie and Pitch Perfect. That would have been a negative.
The rain, and So you like The Ring better than this? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, 100%.
The Ring is one of his favorite movies, bro.
Absolutely. I will stand by that movie forever. Jeremiah, enlighten us in second watch.
That's one thing Brandon does. He sticks by his opinions.
I love Vanilla Sky too, fuckers.
There's Vanilla Sky too, man. There you go. Well, the movie for me, it's gritty, it's brutal, and it doesn't hide at all. You know, I mean, I think The End of the Watch is one of the more better police movies that you will see. I like that it was raw. I like how realistic quality that it literally stays with you. I mean, there's some scenes in this movie that's going to haunt me for like forever and forever, you know? The only problem I have with this movie is like, you know, not knowing if you want to do like a hell camera, if you want to do a body camera, or if you want to do a certain type of way how you're going to film it. I think that if they would have kind of focused more on what they were wanting to do on that part, it would have been more of a better viewing for me. That's how I kind of look at it. But the reason why you watch this movie and the reason why this movie is so fucking good is the chemistry, the performance, and the bond between Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Peña. These are buddies that you know, and these are people that you kind of come across to in life. And I think they were able to actually show that on the screen. And in the end of the day, man, this movie really made me just appreciate how heroic and the sacrifices of people go through every day and night. And I think this movie actually kind of represented that very well. So it's a 2.25 for me. It's a happy buzz with a half a shot. Sean.
All right. So looking past the fact that I just couldn't watch half the movie because of the shaky camera and the way that it moved. It literally, I think that's such a distracting, excuse me, this is my time, Ed. Such a distracting way to film.
Watch Casino Royale.
And there are Quantum of Solace was the one that was bad, not Casino Royale. And what Quantum of Solace did is it did it in shoots and spurts, so you still could watch the movie. This was 2 hours of absolute just shaky cam, and I don't think it brings you into the movie more. I think it's distracting. I think that some of the POV shots were effective, but I'm with Jeremy. I think that the consistent POV narrative failed because it did not stay consistent. Either have it a handheld, Jake Gyllenhaal's filming the whole movie, or have it a crew, but don't go back and forth. So I did not appreciate that failure in the movie. The second part of the movie that I didn't care for was the overall storyline. I would have liked there to be stakes to their deaths. I don't like walking away with what I see as two people who got, a little out of control, and out of their lane and paid for it with their lives, or at least Michael Peña did, without any grit behind it. I wish that they had uncovered something big, that they had given someone a piece of something that would lead to a greater triumph, instead of just kind of dying in the line of fire. And that's just a personal opinion, and one of the things that I struggle with a lot of movies, like Brandon likes to feel bad when he leaves the movie. I like to feel good. I like to feel there's hope. Also, I felt like it was a little bit not realistic. I think police officers are more reserved than these two are in general. I think that this showed police officers to be reckless, and I don't think that they're as reckless as is necessarily was portrayed in this movie. And so for that, I think it was unrealistic, an unrealistic portrayal. That being said, I did enjoy the movie a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. The camaraderie between the two characters was really good. Jake Gyllenhaal, Michael Peña did a very good job. Michael Peña, obviously, I think doing a much better job than Jake Gyllenhaal. I loved the banter. I loved the brotherhood. And I think that what the movie successfully did, and this is where I'll stop, is it showed a brotherhood of police officers. There's the reason they're called the Fraternal Order. They are a group that looks out for themselves, that has each other's backs, that really you have that what we felt with baseball times 10 because their lives are on the line. And I thought that came through the movie very well. So that's why I didn't give it a higher score. So for me, I gave it a 3.2. Your Uber lifting home with just a little drizzle of a spill.
So you're saying an eighth of a shot.
Ed, why don't you finish us out?
What is it?
A 3.2.
3.2.
So I personally feel like it's okay though. I personally feel like you guys bashed this movie a little bit harder. That's just how I feel. Yeah,
wow.
I do feel like you bashed this movie. You gave it a 3.2, and
yeah, you gave Lawrence of Arabia what you gave Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, and Lawrence of Arabia is trash compared to this movie. I feel this film. So it's my turn to speak. Though. My turn to speak. It's funny how we talk about what's realistic and what's not realistic when all the movies else we've done. And when I walked into this movie, I got what I expected with this. It's a handheld, and the filming of it is not as bad as you three maybe said it was. It's okay. You pick a lane, but overall, all movies do that. They do a little bit of this. Let's change the angle. There's different ways of filming, and this, yes, it definitely hit a time at that era where handheld was the cool thing to do, and then it was also jumping out of that with let's see different angles of from the chopper, from the police car, a real life police. It made me feel like I was watching Cops. At the same time, it made me feel like, okay, let's see a different angle as the police officer on the body cam. It was pretty intense with all the different scenes. I do think personally, none of us can really say what's realistic or what's not realistic if we've never spent a day in the force. So I don't think we can judge if what's realistic, what's not realistic if we're not out there on the front line. Personally, when this movie came out in 2012, I was rehabbing a lot of officers over at the sport clinic, and they personally told me when this movie came out, this is before I watched it, they were saying, have you ever watched the movie End of Watch? And I was like, no, I haven't. And 3 officers, one was a canine, one was highway patrol, and another one was a patrolman. They were saying that movie is the hardest movie to watch of all the police movies. This is the most realistic in line of duty police movie that is out there. And it will probably be the most realistic one that it touches a lot of areas of dying in the line of duty and being in the shop and how boring it could be from day to day. And at the same time, it could pick up very, very quickly without no word. You could be talking to your partner and the next second they're dead. And that's what this movie shows. And I think it's good to bring light to that, these guys were almost picked on. Yes, they definitely should have pulled out of certain times, and but overall, one issue leads to the next issue to the next issue. That happens a lot in our day of life with work. It's a domino effect with our day-to-day lives. And I imagine that's probably the same for officers out there that, I pulled over. It's the butterfly effect. It's kind of funny how he mentions it, Jake Gyllenhaal. But yeah, hey, because of this one thing messes up, it messes up a trickle of things, and somebody, it changes the whole aspect of the path, of the timeline. And this is a movie that I think definitely you need to watch. It's something that you might like it, you might not like it, but I think it's worth watching to just understand the life of a police officer and the family members that what they have to deal with. I personally give this movie a 0.5 a shot. I enjoy this movie so much, and I will watch this any moment possible.
A shot,
yeah.
0.5. All right.
When you combine those scores and divide by 4, what does End of Watch get an average rating of?
It gives us a 2.0625. 2.0625. That gives us just above a happy buzz.
Jeremiah, where does that put us on the list of movies we have reviewed?
Okay, so we have a new number here. It is 43 here. That's number where it's 43. At. So what's better than End of Watch is 3:10 to Yuma, Parasite, Fight Club, Young Frankenstein, Edward Scissorhands, Independence Day, Hunger Games.
Better than End of Watch.
What's worse than End of Watch?
Dune Part 1. I don't agree with that.
No,
Breakfast at Tiffany's, Watchmen, Quiet Place, John Wick 2, Tombstone, and Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, I should have shown that movie to you. You guys don't appreciate good cinema.
I love good cinema.
All right, well, there we go.
Okay, so
that's where it is.
That's what we got. Now that we're at the end of this podcast episode, and what a great podcast episode it was, right, Ed? It's time for one of our gentlemen to tell us which movie we'll be watching and reviewing next week. So since Jeremiah has the next selection, Jeremiah,
I don't think I know what Jeremiah's picking. When's Jeremiah Peña?
We are brand new to this.
You guys didn't know this? Okay. Well,
This is new and fresh. This is new and fresh.
This is all fresh. This is coming off the press, guys. Okay, so I think Michael Peña actually stole this movie from Jake Gyllenhaal. I think Michael Peña is one of the better and like most underrated actors, and I want to do a movie that he is a part of a lot of great actors, and this movie that I somehow, anytime it's on, I'm going to end up watching it, and it's The Martian. The Martian, the 2015 film directed by Ridley Scott with Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Michael Peña, Sebastian
I've heard
Stan.
great things about this movie.
I like that movie.
Oh, Sean, you got places to go.
I have not seen it. I'm excited.
I like space movies.
Either my movies are going to be like horror movies or science fiction movies. So
They really are.
this is a science fiction movie. I enjoy this movie. You guys may like it. You guys may not like it. You're like, why is this person on Mars?
I'm not a huge Matt Damon fan, so we'll see. We'll see if I like it.
Brandon, have you seen it, dude?
Is Matt Damon in a lot of...
I have. I've only seen it once in theaters, and I'm going to enjoy revisiting this one. So I'm excited about this one. Jeremiah, thank you.
So Matt Damon's been in 2 space movies. I know he has, Interstellar and The Martian.
Oh, well, Eddie, you can't tell the
We didn't even know he was
listeners.
in Interstellar, which is amazing.
I have not seen that movie either, so I missed out. There was a period there where I missed out on like 12 movies that were like big movies, and I don't know what happened.
2015 was a great year.
I think I was going to law
films.
school.
2015,
that's your law school
was a
days.
great year of film.
So we're going to do The Martian. Nice.
It's
So
The Martian.
Sean, it's about aliens. It's about alien invasion, right?
What?
It's the sequel to Mars Attacks. That's all I'm saying.
Well, then I'm in because I am a huge Mars Attacks. I don't know if you know this. I am a huge
do not
Mars
know this.
Attacks fan.
I didn't know
I
that.
love Mars Attacks. I think Mars Attacks is one of the greatest movies ever
shit,
made.
no way.
I am being
cinema,
very
my ass.
serious.
Great cinema,
I
my
am being
ass.
very serious. That movie subverts all expectations.
Oh my god, I
And
can't
it's
believe
got-
it.
I mean, everyone
I never
dies.
would have thought in a
Everyone
million
dies
years.
in that movie. It's
Of
just
all
death
the
after
Tim
death after
Burton
death.
movies, I would never thought. In a
Jack
million years.
Nicholson dies.
I
I
don't
think
want to
Jack
feel
Nicholson
sad
dies
when I walk
twice.
out of a movie theater, but everybody
Oh.
dies. Isn't it amazing?
Oh, but it's hilarious. Because, their heads explode with music and the old. Oh, come on! That movie is fantastic.
Well, in
It's
that
a
case, I got
satire
bad
against
news for The Martian.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Anyway, all right. If you enjoy our podcast or a fan of our review, please subscribe wherever you're listening. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes or Overcast, wherever you're listening. You can find us on Instagram at The Gentleman Podcast. I'm sorry, at the Gentleman Podcast. You can
The
visit
dot
our
means a lot.
website at thegentlemanpodcast.com. And if you want to reach out to us to tell us how Eddie was wrong, you could do
Or
so
how
at
all
host
3
with
of
an
you
S.
don't respect the law enforcement. That's fine.
Yes.
I'm trying to get my tickets. They're not hearing me out, and they're like, I like this guy, and they're let's go ahead and give Sean a 3.3 ticket.
Dude,
I was already getting a 3.3
my review
ticket.
was fantastic.
I'm a lawyer.
Movie. What's wrong with you, bro?
I'm not really
I don't-
picking
yeah.
this. The movie's where it's supposed to be. I think it's a good spot.
It is.
No, I think it's way too high.
No, I think
All
it's
right.
fun.
Anyway, thank you all for listening, and tune in next week where we're going to do a good review of The Martian.
Yeah. Unlike an average review of Eddie's movie.
I mean,
Watch
you
your
guys,
sister,
gave,
gentlemen.
you guys gave it a 2.3, a 2.25. It's a 2.0625. Very close to your scores.
Always said.
I mean, Ed,
2.5
you
is an
gave-
average movie.
I like this movie.
gave-
I think this movie is
gave
above
this
average.